South Korea and the U.S. held their trade talks in Washington, where the idea of a package deal was agreed upon to remove new U.S. tariffs before early July. Bilateral cooperation on shipbuilding and energy topped the agenda, with no mention of the allies' defense cost sharing before the final deal is handed off to the next administration in Korea. Russia has attacked Kyiv with a barrage of missiles and drones, killing at least 12 people and injuring dozens, likely further complicating peace talks. As Pope Francis embarks on his journey to eternal rest, his funeral tomorrow in the Vatican will bring together world leaders as well as migrants and refugees. It's April 25th, 8 p.m. in Seoul. This is Newscenter. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Jung-min. During their first 2+2 trade meeting, South Korea and the U.S. have explored what would be available when it comes to removing new U.S. tariffs. They have agreed upon a July package deal with no mention of the allies' defense cost sharing, when in fact, U.S. President Trump signaled that the issue will be separated from tariff negotiations. Bae Eun-ji stirs us off.
South Korea and the United States have agreed to produce a package of deals to remove new U.S. tariffs before the July 8 deadline, when the 90-day pause on reciprocal tariffs is lifted. This was discussed by South Korea's Deputy Prime Minister Choi Sang-mok and Trade Minister An Dok-gun, alongside U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer during a high-level meeting in Washington on Thursday local time. Seoul's Trade Ministry said in a statement that it requested exemptions from reciprocal tariffs and offered cooperation on shipbuilding and energy. Following the meeting, Finance Minister Choi said the two sides agreed to aim for a deal by early July and explained they will hold further discussions on 4 key areas of mutual interest: tariffs and non-tariff measures, economic security, investment cooperation, and currency policy.
We focus particularly on the automobile sector, which faces the greatest negative impact.
Choi also said they asked for understanding from the U.S. as the negotiation process could be affected by Korea's political schedule and the upcoming presidential election. He added that the two sides agreed to discuss this in detail when Greer visits South Korea to take part in the APEC Trade Ministers meeting, scheduled to take place for 2 days starting May 15th. Unlike trade talks between the U.S. and Japan, Thursday's meeting between Seoul and Washington did not include a discussion on the issue of sharing the cost of American troops in Korea. In fact, Trump said in the White House press briefing on Thursday that the military will not be subject to any deals, signaling that the issue of U.S. troop costs will be discussed separately, apart from tariff negotiations, in what pundits in Seoul believe the U.S. could be taking a two-track approach. Meanwhile, Bessent also told reporters that the two countries had a very successful meeting, without disclosing further details on the talks.
We may be moving faster than I thought, and we will be talking technical terms as early as next week, as we reach an agreement on understanding as soon as next week. So South Koreans came early, they came with their A game, and we will see if they follow through on that.
South Korea, which faces 25% U.S. reciprocal tariffs, plans to leverage its shipbuilding capabilities in upcoming tariff negotiations. Trade Minister An told Parliament earlier that the Trump administration has expressed great interest in cooperation in shipbuilding and said this will become an important negotiating card for Korea.
The U.S. is in urgent need of support in the shipbuilding sector, as you mentioned, while Korea possesses the world's most advanced capacity in shipbuilding. Moving forward, if Korea and the U.S. expand cooperation in shipbuilding and other technology and industrial sectors, it could serve as a kind of channel to broaden discussion into other areas, leading to favorable negotiations.
Eyes are now on whether the two countries will be able to reach a fruitful deal that will exempt South Korea from higher levies. Bae Eun-ji, Arirang News.
Signs of the U.S. and China softening their stance on the trade war are being detected as Washington signals de-escalation, while Beijing looks to be withdrawing some of its harsh tariff measures behind the scenes. Moon Hae-ryun has the latest.
As the U.S. enters negotiations with countries around the world regarding its tariffs, China appears to be quietly rolling back some of its harshest retaliatory measures, despite denying that any trade negotiations with Washington are taking place. According to CNN on Friday, 3 import agencies in China confirmed that Chinese authorities had waived tariffs of up to 125% on certain U.S.-made semiconductors. The exemptions, which have not been officially announced, were only discovered during routine customs procedures this week and cover most integrated circuits, excluding memory chips. The move suggests that while Beijing continues to project strength on the global stage, it is now taking calculated steps to soften the economic fallout of the trade war, particularly in sectors where it remains reliant on U.S. technology. The ripple effects of the escalating trade war are also being felt across global shipping lanes. According to the Wall Street Journal, container bookings from China to the U.S. have dropped by nearly a third, prompting shipping giant Hapag-Lloyd to use smaller vessels and reroute operations. Some Chinese exporters have paused shipments altogether, facing uncertainty and rising costs. The rollback stands in stark contrast to China's recent public statements. Just days ago, Chinese officials flatly rejected U.S. President Donald Trump's claim that trade talks were underway.
This is fake news. As far as I know, China and the United States have not held consultations or negotiations on the tariff issue, let alone reached an agreement. The tariff war was initiated by the United States, and China's attitude is consistent and clear. If you want to fight, we will fight to the end. If you want to talk, the door is open. Dialogue and negotiation must be equal, respectful, and mutually beneficial.
While Trump had told reporters that he had engaged in talks with Beijing on Thursday morning, his Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said no formal negotiations had taken place. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
Over this upcoming weekend, the primary for the Democratic Party of Korea will wrap up. While Lee Jae-myung has a clear lead, a last-minute push is being done by other candidates. Meanwhile, the People Power Party continued with the one-on-one debates, but acting President Han Duck-soo has been stealing the spotlight. Kim Do-yeon reports.
The Democratic Party of Korea's primary is nearing its end, and the last debate before the DP's candidate is finalized will be live at 10 p.m. on Friday. Utilizing the 90-minute debate, the 3 candidates will go over various issues. During the day, the candidates kept themselves busy with campaign work. Frontrunner Lee Jae-myung was in Jeollanam-do province to boost his support in the party's stronghold, with the region's voting still open. Lee met with people in agricultural businesses and pledged to make the nation's agro-industry globally strong. Both Kim Kyung-soo and Kim Dong-yeon joined the celebration for the 7th anniversary of the Panmunjom Declaration earlier in the afternoon at the National Assembly Library. The DP electors voting for the Jeollado provinces will close on Saturday, while the capital, Gangwon-do province, and Jeju will close on Sunday, which is also when the convention will be held to name the primary's winner and officially kick off the presidential campaign for the party. Meanwhile, the People Power Party's one-on-one debates featured Han Dong-un and Hong Jun-pyo, who chose each other as partners, making there's a 3-hour clash. The two were heated over how they view former President Yoon's declaration of martial law and over who is more competitive against DP's likely candidate, Lee Jae-myung. Meanwhile, speculation grows over whether acting President Han Duck-soo will join the race. All 4 PPP primary candidates, including An Chol-soo, who joined this morning, have now pledged to merge their campaigns with the acting president's if he runs. Initially, only Kim Moon-soo supported the idea. The remaining 3 still are not in favor of him running, but now they say they'll unite their camps if he does, or whatever it takes to win against DP's Lee Jae-myung. Some PPP supporters are also in favor, although the acting president himself remains silent on the matter. And such comments could be tied to the fact that the primary will be decided 50-50 between PPP electors and an open survey, meaning PPP supporters' votes are crucial for the candidates. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Russia has launched an alarming attack against Ukraine amid U.S.-led efforts to secure a ceasefire, prompting a rare rebuke from U.S. President Trump. Lee Yoon-jin has the latest.
In the early hours of Thursday local time, Russia conducted a massive combined missile and drone attack on Kyiv, killing at least 12 people and injuring over 90. The strikes, which began around 1 a.m., targeted multiple districts and caused significant damage to residential buildings and vehicles. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called the assault one of Moscow's most outrageous, while officials reported that it involved ballistic missiles. The country's interior minister said that apart from the Kyiv area, 7 other regions were targeted in the mass attack. The attack marks the deadliest assault on the capital since last July and comes amid heightened tension over negotiations to end the ongoing conflict. On Thursday, U.S. President Donald Trump, in a rare move, criticized Russian President Vladimir Putin, urging him to stop such attacks, adding that Putin demonstrated very bad timing and that the attacks were not necessary. Trump had said on Wednesday that he believed Russia was ready for a peace deal with Ukraine. He also lashed out at Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, saying he was harder to deal with than expected, accusing him of prolonging the war by refusing to surrender the Russia-occupied Crimean Peninsula as part of a possible deal. He also said that Russia had made a pretty big concession to end the war by not taking the whole country. But Ukraine and much of Europe have fiercely pushed back, arguing that Russia holding back on a land grab is hardly a concession. And Zelensky reiterated that any peace agreement, including Russia's demand to keep control of Crimea, is a red line for Ukraine. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said further discussions were planned for the weekend to finalize a peace deal. How things develop in the next few days will be crucial for the future direction of U.S.-led peace talks. Lee Yoon-jin, Arirang News.
The funeral of Pope Francis is set for tomorrow in the Vatican City. His journey to eternity will not only bring together world leaders, but migrants and refugees as well. Choi Soo-hyung has more.
The funeral mass for Pope Francis, who passed away on Monday, will be held at 10 a.m. local time on Saturday, April 26th, in St. Peter's Square in the heart of the Vatican. His body was moved to St. Peter's Basilica for public mourning, and in just 2 days, more than 90,000 people have paid their respects. On the first day, there were larger crowds than expected, with people waiting more than 8 hours. The Vatican extended visiting hours on that day until 5:30 a.m. to welcome them. It is expected that more than 250,000 mourners will pay their respects before the final day of public visiting, and an even larger crowd is anticipated for the funeral mass. The funeral mass will be presided over by Cardinal Giovanni Battista Re, the leader of the College of Cardinals, with cardinals, bishops, and priests from around the world jointly officiating. In accordance with the Pope's wishes, the ceremony will be a simple and modest one, significantly simplified from traditional papal funerals. Instead of the ornate, triple-layered coffin used in the past, his body will be placed in a single, simple wooden coffin. A scroll documenting the achievements of his papacy, along with coins and medals, will be sealed inside. Many world leaders will also gather for Pope Francis' funeral. U.S. President Donald Trump and his wife Melania, Prime Minister Keir Starmer and Prince William of the United Kingdom, French President Emmanuel Macron and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will be present. South Korea is also sending a delegation led by the country's culture minister Yoo In-chun. Migrants and refugees who are especially close to the Pope's heart during his lifetime will also attend. After the funeral mass, the Pope will be laid to eternal rest at the Santa Maria Maggiore Basilica, a place he visited often and held dear. The funeral procession will slowly travel about 6 kilometers through central Rome, passing historic landmarks, including the Colosseum. Choi Soo-hyung, Arirang News.
Centuries ago, Korea sent envoys to Japan to restore peace. That historic mission is brought back to life in full procession every year here in the country. And this year, it carries a message that feels more relevant than in the past, as it marks the 60th anniversary of normalized diplomatic ties between the two neighbors. Our culture correspondent Song Yujin has the story.
일본국으로 향할 상사는 전하께 어명을 받으라.
This is a recreation of the Joseon Tongsinsa, the diplomatic mission sent from Korea to Japan between the 17th and 19th centuries. The word Tongsinsa means envoys of communication built on trust. Between 1607 and 1811, a total of 12 missions were dispatched at the request of Japan's shogunate government. Their purpose was to restore diplomatic relations after Japan attacked Korea in the late 16th century. Each year, the Busan Cultural Foundation brings this historic journey back to life. This year's event carries more special meaning, marking the 60th anniversary of the normalization of diplomatic ties between South Korea and Japan.
Today's ceremony reenacts the moment the royal order is handed to the lead envoy, the Jongsa, before the mission sets off. This year we are recreating the 1763 mission from during King Yongjo's reign, an event being revived for the first time in 16 years.
Every Tongsinsa mission begins with the appointment of the three key envoys, Jongsa, Busa, and Jongsa관, the core of the 300 to 500 delegation. This year, the role of chief envoy Jongsa is being played by Shin Yun-chan, the mother of the late Lee Soo-hyun, a Korean student who died in Tokyo in 2001 while trying to save a Japanese man who had fallen onto train tracks.
People call Japan a close but distant neighbor, but reflecting on my experience, it's always been a close country, for example, through family and work. Even though there are political tensions, cultural exchanges like this show how we can move forward together.
Following the appointment ceremony in Seoul, the procession travels south to Busan, where it will board a vessel modeled after the original Tongsinsa ships and set sail for Japan. 2 weeks later, by mid-May, the vessel is set to arrive in Osaka. For those unable to follow the journey in person, the Seoul Museum of History is hosting a special exhibition introducing the Goodwill Mission. It features over 100 artifacts, including diplomatic records inscribed on the UNESCO Memory of the World Register.
These missions were re-established after the devastation of war at a time when Japan was still seen as a bitter enemy. And yet Korea chose diplomacy. They reflect the desire to stabilize society and preserve peace, even with a former foe. That message of cultural dialogue is what we wanted to emphasize in this exhibition.
Centuries ago, Korean envoys sailed not just across seas, but across political divides, guided by the pursuit of peace. And today, as Korea and Japan continue navigating a complex relationship, the spirit of the Tongsinsa reminds us that history, when honored, can still guide us toward a more thoughtful future. Song Yujin, Arirang News.
For those of you here in Korea who have yet to make weekend plans, how about a trip to a stunning butterfly festival in the southern part of the country? Our Park Gon-woo was there.
Busy and colorful wings flutter through the air, signaling the full arrival of spring. And there's no better place to experience it than at South Korea's biggest butterfly festival in Hampyeong County, Jeollanam-do Province. Celebrating its 27th edition, Hampyeong Butterfly Festival showcases around 200,000 butterflies of nearly 20 different species. Among them, the Korean tiger swallowtail has been named the Butterfly of the Year. Caterpillars, larvae, and other fascinating insects also add to the festival's charm, making it a rare opportunity to enjoy nature up close. After the festival kicked off on Friday, people from all over the country visited to enjoy not just the winged insects, but the vibrant scenes of spring.
My friends and I are all over 70, but we've been here since early this morning, feeling as excited as if we were 18 again. There are so many flowers, butterflies, and even people. It's such a joy to be here.
It's really fun to see butterflies I've only seen in books. There are so many kinds like the cabbage white butterfly that I know, and I actually got to see them today. I hope more people can come and enjoy them too.
The festival isn't just for observing, as it's filled with intriguing activities to encounter butterflies, including feeding them using floral bouquets. 나비야, 나비야, One of the greatest things you can try here is releasing a butterfly, so I'll be trying it myself. As I do it, I'll be sending off my greatest wishes on their wings, hoping they'll spark a new, beautiful butterfly effect. Now go, fly away. While butterfly populations are in decline globally, especially down by 22% in the US over the past 2 decades, Hampyong has worked hard to keep its ecosystem thriving.
Instead of collecting butterflies from the wild, we raise them using selected breeding stock. To thrive, butterflies need host plants for caterpillars and nectar plants for adults. And this clean and natural area of Hampyong offers both in abundance.
He stressed that the combination of natural resources, expertise, and sustainable practices is making Hampyong an ideal place for both the butterflies and the festival. Offering visitors a colorful spring escape with butterflies galore, the festival runs through May 6. 박건우, Arirang News, Hampyeong.
The summer-like heat has turned back to spring-like conditions. The cold air came down last night and the temperature in Seoul dropped to the single digits this morning to 7 degrees. Even during the day, most areas were 1 to 7 degrees lower than yesterday. The weather will continue to be not too hot until early next week. Meanwhile, the atmosphere is very dry as the clear weather continues for days. Currently, a dry weather advisory is in place in most of the eastern parts of the country and Gyeongsangdo provinces. The atmosphere is expected to get drier as there is no rain forecast for the time being. Tomorrow, Chuncheon will start at 3 degrees, Daejeon at 6 degrees. Daily highs will move up to 20 degrees in Seoul, 19 degrees in Busan. This weekend will be perfect to enjoy outdoor activities with clear skies. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world. That is Newscenter for tonight. Thank you for watching. A panel session coming up.